Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and today I'm going to talk about Anora. This is the latest film from Sean Baker. It won the Palme d'Or at the recent Cannes Film Festival, or the Cannes Film Festival of 2024. Sean Baker is known for making films about people on the kind of edges of society, or people barely getting by, and the little scraps of nothing that they can glom together to kind of make some sort of a life out of themselves. I think in some ways, this film is probably the most extreme kind of view in terms of the victims of capitalism are mostly the people who are trapped within it, who have to work with those rich people to get anything in life. And a lot of this film is about that. It's about expectations. It's about trying to find your way out of something and not exactly succeeding and getting anywhere at the same time. It's depressing, it's funny, it's dramatic, it's everything, and it's feels like sort of Sean Baker experimenting as much with the form than we've ever seen him really before. This film is about a stripper who strips in Manhattan, but lives in kind of the Brighton Beach, or I guess like Brooklyn area that I don't live in, but it's closer to Coney Island. And she, who goes by Annie, but is also named Anora, played by Mikey Madison. And she is just trying to make it through, doing well, being a stripper and stuff. And then she's asked to basically leave her lunch break, which totally sucks, and go and be hang out with this Russian kid because she speaks Russian. His name is Vanya. And him and her have a nice rapport. He hires her for the week for $15,000. They start partying. He's super rich. He has a huge house in Brighton Beach, which is in one of those parts of Brooklyn or Queens where you're like, wait, they have houses like this here? And they do. And he lives in like an extreme, kind of really an estate, less of a house, more of an estate, and all the personality of a mall. But he lives there, and she and him get along really well. They fly to Vegas. They joke about getting married and then actually do, and then all hell breaks loose as his Russian oligarch family tries to stop it. It seems like majority of people really love this movie. Some people don't like this movie. I like it, but I think it is the worst Sean Baker movie I've seen so far. And I think, although I do think it's a really wonderful film, I quite enjoyed watching it. I thought it was really good. I very much enjoyed it, but at the same time, I felt like oftentimes it tried too much. I didn't have the intense reaction that I usually have with his films. And I also felt, I don't know, I'm still like, I think this is a very good movie. I don't really agree with much of the criticism because most of it is, oh, she doesn't have a personality, or you don't know her life outside of this thing and stuff. And honestly, I thought what made sense about this is if you're in your 20s and you're working a shitty job and you're either right out of college age, you're kind of just treading water, trying to survive. And I often find when people are critical of people right out of college, I find that to be kind of crappy, because it's a hard time to figure out your early 20s. It's not an easy time. And when people are like, why aren't you connecting to your family more? Why aren't you doing this? I'm like, dude, I am just trying not to fall into a hole. Could you please? And like that is 100% what I thought was going on the whole time. And then when I read these criticisms, like, I really didn't understand that, or like, who is her family, which she does actually refer to. I noticed like a lot of the criticisms I think might be kind of an issue with what you take in from the movie. What's that called? Maybe a competency issue or something like that. However, but it's not really important to the story. And I think when you're in your 20s and you're partying with your friends and you're doing every shift you can, or you're doing a lot of shifts and you're just trying to make something out of like what scraps you can, I just don't find, I know people are critical of people that age. Like when I was that age, I'm like, shut the fuck up. When you were that age, you were fucked too. Just like calm the fuck down. And which I think is the whole point of the movie. Like, I think that's a part of the movie, is that part of you. And when I was in my 20s, I so much wanted, and I'm not gonna say who the reviews are or something like that, but I've seen it in so many variety of places. It's like pointless. But when I was in my 20s, I remember just like wanting an office job just so I'd have some semblance of stability, and not be bouncing around and stuff, and like how much that would change my life. And it does change your life if you have this sort of things, and you're just like looking for something to give you some sense of normalcy. And I 100% think that's why she went after this guy, even though it's like, yeah, this doesn't seem like it's gonna work. But the thing about being an adult is so much of it doesn't feel like it'll ever work ever, even when you are an adult. So like going out on a limb makes even more sense when you're young. Which I actually like. Those are the elements I loved about that. And I love that, like, well, I don't love, but I recognize when I was watching the film. It was like everyone there's a point where they're like searching for Vanya, and like all of them are like people who are trapped under this capitalist system. None of them want to be doing this. This sucks. This is horrible. And I feel like that, like, so much of Sean Baker and what he does is about that, but it felt like so directly. It felt like we're all kind of trapped under capitalism. We're all miserable, and we're all slaves to like a bunch of rich people who want to have fun. If they deem the idea to fuck with us, then we, in fact, are probably fucked. It's beautiful in a sense, but also that you could make it very funny. At times you could play like a slapstick thing. I mean, this is like, plays like a silly Bogdanovich kind of like a comedy throwback, but at the same time playing in other kind of sadder 70s films that, hope they can have some of the magic of Scorsese or something. It has all of that mixed together in such a glorious way. I love that about this movie. Maybe it's that with Florida Project and Tangerine, those films really stuck with me and had a big attachment. And I do often feel like when I'm in love with a certain filmography or a series or a kind of movie, and I see one and it doesn't hit with me, I am being too tough on this or something. But I did feel like its mixture, it worked very well, and I still like probably will end up in my top 10 or something. But I just don't feel pretty. I don't know. Towards the end, I was like, I do not think this is as good as like the Florida Project or Tangerine. I haven't seen his earlier stuff, and I didn't see Red Rocket, unfortunately, which I don't know why I didn't. I have no good reason. Sometimes things just don't happen. But Mikey Madison is great as this role. She does so much. Her like thick Brooklyn accent, her Russian accent, which is perfect because she does speak Russian, but not like a lot, and she is fluent for the most part, but she just doesn't. I don't know, it's interesting how she used her voice, especially the physicality of her performance, how she looks, not to be grosser, like she looks like amazingly beautiful, but also like how well she weaves through these people, how well she worked within those performances. I think there's extreme physicality, there's extreme like very hard dramatic shit in this. I think that is probably one of the big things with this movie is the drama. There's certain scenes where it's like it's hard to pull off in one take what she is doing or communicate that in a shot to have that sort of like strong sense of continuity through her performance that she does. And it's really amazing. Like I hope she doesn't lose that, like, because we could really have one of our great actresses going from performance with it. This is like, kind of some like Marlon Brando, Philip Seymour Hoffman shit. I know when like women do that kind of thing, we often don't, put it up to that high level, but this is like pretty extreme. Like I was kind of like, we talk about like the new movie stars in this group, and now she was also in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and all this stuff, but like this is like kind of next level. Like she's so far beyond her peers, like there's no real joking about it. Like the fact of what she did accomplish within this film is pretty mind-boggling. Like I don't know what you can even I don't know. To me, it's like maybe that is the best performance of the year. Maybe they won't recognize it, and maybe Hollywood won't do a huge role with her. I don't know about any of that, but I know with this, like, there was such a sense of reality through her performance. Like, this movie doesn't work without her. Sean Baker's a great director. It's written very well. It's figured out very well. There's a lot of tone changes in this. It's pretty wild, but this movie just flat out does not work without her. The comedic tone is absolutely amazing throughout it. I actually thought, I love the, like, how silly it could be, how fun it could be, how you actually understand. Like, I thought their house looked like a fucking mall, but I still got like the security of seeing that extreme wealth there, and I got all of that. It's just so well told. Mark Edelstein, it says I should pronounce that on Wikipedia. He who plays Vanya, I thought did a really great performance. Actually, he's a total piece of shit character, but like you have to fall in love with that guy. And I think, I know Mikey Madison does a great job, but he is like without him, and like how like fun and silly and off the wall he is. You sort of like get kind of the vibe of this whole thing, as well as Igor, who is played by Yura Barsovov, if I don't think I maybe got that right. He was like kind of like this hidden gem throughout the movie, but like it's kind of hard to be in the background of the movie and you still follow an arc, and he did that actually very well. I think everyone's really good, but those are like the two other performances that really stood out to me personally. I just wanted to, I know it's Mikey Madison's great, and I'm not demoting her at all, but there are other people in the movie. It definitely, like, that area of Brighton Beach and Coney Island is like another world of New York. Like it kind of reminds me of the movie Good Times by the Safdie brothers, and even Uncut Gems as well. It's like that. Like, I think for a while there was all this discussion in New York movies, like, could you make a grimy New York movie again? And you can. You don't make it in Manhattan no more, buddy. That's kind of the deal, and I think Anora shows that again. It did remind me a lot of Good Times in that, and the work of the Safdie brothers, because I don't believe Sean Baker has really made a New York movie before, although I want to kind of know his filmography a little better. This is a great movie. I don't know. To me, it's not necessarily his masterpiece or anything like that. I think he's known for making great character pieces, and he does that again, but like how this weaves between romance, drama, comedy, romantic comedy, like all these things are within it. It's pretty wild. I haven't seen a film tonally shift as much as this. There's some beautiful shots in the snow that are just like, snow when you're in a city feels the wealth and complications of dealing with it are palpable. It doesn't get into that in this, but I think when I was a kid, the streets would be full of snow for a week and they would just close schools, whatever, in Maryland. But when I moved to New York, the streets had to be paved real quick so Wall Street can open, and it feels like more of a sudden inconvenience than it does a beautiful snowy day. And I think the metaphorical qualities are there whether you realize it or not. I can't say how you would view it as people who, I go to Coney Island every year with my kids. I go to the Mermaid. I do all that stuff. I've been in that area. I've shot documentaries in that area. It is a wild ass fucking area. I wasn't completely surprised, but I was also, I kind of love them going into that. I love, like, they do some wild comedic things, and Sean Baker is really, from Greg the Bunny to this, I think shows how, real he can be, how wild he can be, how varied he can be in all that. This is really kind of a big auteur, both statement and kind of tight, high wire act that very few directors who are making these kind of movies even attempt. Most of the time they're being very literal, and like, if you're talking about capitalism and all this stuff, and like, I think you could make comparisons to something like Parasite and what's that saying about class struggles and stuff, but like this just feels people are so much more trapped in the American dream to ever really indulge in the American dream. And also the idea that the American dream is being indulged by people not from America, and that Americans are going to have to suffer is, you can read into that as much as you want. There's a lot to read into about capitalism in our lives and everything like that within this film, which is very exact for someone like Sean Baker. I think it is a very good movie. I still have not seen a bad movie for him. I keep hearing about Starlet and particularly Red Rocket for a while, but I think, and if you're into filmmaking, this is absolutely a movie you should see. I just did not have that immediate reaction that I had to, certainly Florida Project, I think, like, mentally made me spiral and stuff. And Tangerine I've watched so many times, I just don't feel that with this. I just thought I watched a very solid movie, and maybe my expectations are too high. Maybe that I had those reactions to those films and those attachments to those films is unfair to Anora. I still think it's a very solid film. I don't necessarily feel like, oh yeah, this is the Palme d'Or thing that's going to get an Oscar nomination type of shit, frankly. But I still thought it was a very solid movie. I still liked it a lot. I just thought the film, like, he's trying to do a lot in this movie. I think it mostly succeeds, but I think I like him being his Sean Baker self, but his Sean Baker self was never regular, so maybe me acting like it should be regular is some regular old criticism bullshit. But either way, I think we can all agree that this is a very good movie, and he did a great job. And seeing a stripper kind of fight her way through the evils of capitalism and get the result that we all get was heartbreaking, sad, and kind of remind you of the beauty of life while also realizing how ugly it can tear it all down. I think Anora is a great statement on the American dream. It might not be the statement on the American dream or Sean Baker's greatest statement on the American dream. It's certainly one that rings true to us all in our current times. So if you have seen Anora and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments and subscribe if you would like to.